letting you in. Take a look at you and start to lose my balance. What am I falling into? This feels like something new. I've seen a lot of views, but they were nothing like this. The way you do what you do, I think you're something brand new.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our next guest. As you'll probably be aware that Hungary will have the presidency of the Council of the EU from July. So we have asked today the State Secretary for Energy and Climate Policy, the Ministry of Energy at Hungary, to come and join us. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Attila Steiner. Thank you. Thanks, Attila. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity that I can be here. And as it was in the introductory remarks, we will take over the rotating presidency for the second time in the Council of the European Union. And I think it's a very important time when Hungary will take over this task, since that will be the last institutional cycle before 2030. And I think we will have the privilege to set the tone for the next institutional cycle. And that's why I would like to share with you some thoughts and some priorities which we would like to put on the agenda during the presidency semester. Actually, back in 2011, when we held the first presidency, the motto of the presidency was Stronger Europe. And yes, since then, several things happened. Financial crisis, migration crisis, energy crisis, a war next to our borders. So I think now we will have a much more challenging task to have a stronger Europe after the presidency. And I firmly believe that alone, policymakers cannot do that. So we need a much deeper collaboration with all of the stakeholders, including businesses, including regions, including member states, and including citizens. Otherwise, we will not succeed. And actually, the Hungarian presidency would like to provide a platform to bring closer those stakeholders and also to reduce the gap between policymaking and implementation. Because I think what is the key challenge now, we have many ambitious goals, we have good strategies, but we are lagging behind with the implementation. And I think this is the key, how we can move everybody to implement our strategic directions. And of course, that's why one of the key priorities of the Hungarian presidency will be the competitiveness of Europe. Because before the energy crisis, before the war, I think this aspect was a little bit forgotten. We talked a lot about sustainability. We talked a lot about 2040, 50 targets, but the competitiveness now in Europe and in the coming years, I think it's a little bit forgotten. Now it's more and more in the debate, also on the strategic debate of leaders, but I still see quite a big gap and a discrepancy between sectoral rules and the strategic objective to be more competitive. And I think that aspect what we will bring to the leaders' attention. And of course, energy is one of the key pillars of competitiveness. Europe is a resource-poor continent. We do not have fossil energy so much, so we are very much import-dependent, but still we have renewables, which is still there is a large potential to use it more, but how we master it, I think this is not obvious, and we need more debate on that. And that's why I think the Energy Council sessions will play a crucial role during the next semester when we talk about competitiveness. Actually, we plan to organize an informal Energy Council session in July and also a formal session in December, and in between several conferences on some topics. And what are those topics? We defined 3 key priorities in terms of energy. First is much more focus on implementation and how we can translate it into EU language. Actually, this is the national energy and climate plans, because by the start of the Hungarian presidency, theoretically all of the member states will finalize their national energy and climate plans and will submit to the European Commission. And we will have an overview of where we are standing at. Is still a significant gap to reach 2030? What kind of actions do we need to be able to meet our goals? Is it feasible to meet our goals? So I think that debate is still missing, and that's what we would like to focus on during our Energy Council sessions. And as it was very obvious from the Eurelectric study, we have to accelerate the pace of the transition very significantly. And I think Hungary could be a very honest broker for that topic, since you indicated a double pace in your study. I think in Hungary we need a higher pace even. And that's why I think the NECPs, the National Energy and Climate Plans, will play a crucial role in terms of implementation. Actually, in Hungary, we are a small landlocked country, and we have also particular challenges. And the green transition, it's not only fulfilling our legal objectives and to be more sustainable, but if we implement that plan, then we can also reduce our import dependency on fossil fuels and reduce our exposure to Russian fossils. I think this is such a value added in case of Hungary, which we have to capitalize on. And I think we are quite on a good track. We already managed to reduce emissions by 37% compared to 1990. And we managed to decouple economic growth and emissions. And I think this is the key task for the long term, how we can do that, because we need economic prosperity, but in the meantime, we need lower emissions. And here we have a 3-pillar strategy in our National Energy and Climate Plan, how we reduce our dependency. Firstly, of course, we have to reduce natural gas demand. And energy efficiency projects will be very crucial for the next couple of years. We managed already to reduce our consumption by 21%. So I think this is a very remarkable achievement. However, we have to continue on that path. Secondly, how we can substitute natural gas with other energy carriers like geothermal energy, biogas, biomethane, or potentially hydrogen in mid and long term. So I think this is the second key pillar where we have to move forward. And where I see the largest potential, this is electrification. This is the third priority, to switch gas consumption to electricity consumption. And here we have a huge potential. But we need a electricity infrastructure which is capable to deliver a higher quantity and very different characteristics of electricity, what we are used to during the last decades. And that means many investments parallelly in power generation, in grid, in storage, in smart solutions. So that's why actually our Prime Minister has decided by the end of 2022 to create a dedicated energy ministry in Hungary, first ever in the Hungarian government, to execute that national energy and climate plan. In case of electricity, we are progressing quite well. We have one nuclear power plant with 2 gigawatt capacity, and we would like to extend its lifetime because we think there is still additional 10-20 years in this nuclear power plant. So that project has been launched recently. And additionally, we would like to continue by building 2 additional nuclear blocks. because what we expect, it's a 40-50% electricity demand growth in Hungary by 2030, so in 6 years, basically. So that means we need much more power generation assets. We are progressing well with the PVs. Actually, after Greece, we have the second highest share of PV electricity generation. It's more than 18%. But the key challenge is that we have less sunny hours than in Greece. So actually, it's only 16% of the time when we can utilize the PVs. We have 6 gigawatt PVs already connected to the grid. And together with the nuclear power plant, we can 100% cover the domestic demand with carbon neutral sources. But of course, the key challenge is the rest, the 84% of the time, what we can do. And that's why we need flexibility, and we need more assets which can provide balancing energy. So that's why we would like to invest in additional CCGT units, but we would like to heavily invest into storage. We unfortunately do not have any hydro pump and storage facility, and now MVM is instructed to start the preparation of such project. And we also launched a battery support scheme, a contract for difference scheme for batteries, which will increase our battery capacity from 25 megawatt to 450 megawatt by 2026. But of course, this is a good direction, but without grids, it will be not sufficient. So we very heavily have to invest into grids, and that's why we already launched a 500 million euro grid development project, including TSO and all of the DSOs. But I think we have to keep that pace for longer run in order to be able to tackle the challenges. And not to mention that we are also an immediate neighbor of Ukraine, and we have the strongest link to Ukraine among all of the European countries. We have 4 interconnectors towards Ukraine, and it was also a very challenging task to synchronize the Ukrainian market to the European system, but we managed it during a record time, during 2 weeks. And now also the commercial flows are increasing. So I think it's really important to have a very strong grid in the future. And that's why our second priority during the Hungarian presidency will be the electricity grid. And I already invited Mr. Birnbaum to one of the sessions to present Eurelectric's view on the grid, because what I think in that circle, in energy community and that community, the challenges and problems and potential avenues are quite well known. But this is not true for policymakers and politicians. And somehow we have to find the right platform to articulate those challenges also for politicians, because finally it will impact supply security, and it will impact tariffs and fees and citizens at the end, voters. So that's why I think in the future it will be one of the key challenges how to educate basically the politics on that very technical and hard to understand for a politician such details, but somehow we have to do that job. And I think that will be one of our key tasks for the presidency. Thirdly, as a third priority, we would like to focus more on also other renewable sources, not only solar and wind, but geothermal, because this is still an untapped potential in several member states. And with the deployment of geothermal, we can substitute a lot of natural gas consumption. And it's local, it's base load, so I think it has many, many benefits, but of course many challenges, because it's a very expensive and very risky business. So how we can de-risk the business, how we can streamlined permitting, which is very complex in several countries. That will be also a very important topic. And we would like to call on the Commission to think about some recommendations and potentially also to set up a fund which can de-risk those projects. And of course, nobody knows what will happen on the gas markets. It's not planned that we will talk about any gas market intervention, but if the situation will evolve in such a direction, then we have to convene maybe some extraordinary council sessions, but hopefully this will be not the case. So this will be the key priorities during the Hungarian presidency on energy. And I truly believe that we can contribute, that Europe can be stronger, more resilient, because I think the basics are quite good. So we have very robust structures. We have a robust single market. We have a synchronized European grid, which is crisis resistant. We could see it 2 years ago. But in the meantime, we have also the regions, we have the member states, and we have also the local solutions, which can adopt much quicker than a big, robust structure. And if we master this well, this interaction between the adaptivity and the strong robustness, I think then we can be much stronger at the end than currently. And for that, of course, we need a very strong cooperation between all of the stakeholders, policymakers, businesses, citizens. And then I think Europe can regain its strength, and we will be much faster and quicker and more EU solutions. So the Hungarian presidency will do its utmost to contribute to that goal, and I would like to also invite the industry to contribute to that effort. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Attila, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your thoughts and direction on the way forward. Thank you very much. What we're going to do now is invite our participants in our executive dialogue and ask you as well how you feel things are going to pan out politically over the next period. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Chairman and CEO of PPC Group and Vice President Eurelectric, Georgios Stassis. Come and join us. Very much. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Come and take a seat for us. We also have the CEO of Fortum and Vice President of Eurelectric, Marcus Ruramo. Marcus, come and join us. Thank you very much. Thanks, Marcus. Come and take a seat. And also joining us, the CEO of MVM Group. Please welcome Caroline Matrai. Thanks, Caroline. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, gentlemen, good to have you here. This is an interesting topic. This is a fundamental topic to the industry. I think you would agree. What I thought I would do first of all is ask for your opinions. So again, if you wouldn't mind taking out your phones for me, and so that these three gentlemen on stage can have an idea of how you feel, let's take our first Slido. So the first question that we have, and we'll bring it up for you. There we go. There's the QR code. We're talking about the coming elections. Do you expect a significant change in European priorities? And this is on climate and energy, by the way. So your options are, we've kept them really simple, the options. I appreciate there is a lot more nuance, but we've kept them simple. So yes, a shift with less focus on climate and energy. Yes, a shift to more focus on climate and energy, or it's going to stay pretty much the same. I love the fact you're having a conversation already about this. So, you hang on a sec. Have you just decided to say the same thing? Oh, you're feeling very much on your own here, maybe. Okay, so while you're voting, Georgios, what do you think?
I don't know if it is because I'm inside the industry, but I would go for B.
A shift to more. You genuinely think there will be, in the forthcoming elections, a shift to more focus on climate and energy?
European priorities after the election is the...
So after the elections,
after,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the new mandate.
Yes, yes.
I do so, yes.
Yes, okay, a shift to more. Okay,
My guess is A.
A, you're going A.
So we
okay.
didn't agree on the
You
answer.
didn't agree.
We didn't agree.
Okay, so you've gone yes, more of a shift.
Yeah.
Actually, less of a shift.
Less.
Less. Okay. I think, Georgios, we might have to get you to explain your position in a moment. Okay, should we see what the room thinks? Okay.
Wow.
Isn't it fascinating? We think we know
should have
how
said
everyone
C.
will vote. Go on, Marcus, go.
You should have said C.
Yeah. Go on. What do you think?
I think, so I'm just thinking about what all is on the agenda, and there was reference to how things were before the Ukraine crisis.
Yeah.
So had the world continued from that point of view, I think we probably would have gone for B. Now I think there's just more on the EU agenda. So it's not saying that at all that climate and energy would not be important, but there are other things that also need attention. Plus that we also see, I think we saw from some earlier panel discussions that renewables are growing with full speed, so things are happening. There is movement happening. So it's not, my concern is not that we would not have the focus. Other things will also
So
be
it is not, okay, I think you've summed that up really well. So it's a priority thing. So it is going to continue, but actually people are thinking about other things.
My opinion is almost the same. So the focus will be less on the climate and the energy, but still the climate and energy will be in the focus, but with the different priorities. I hope that the speed of the green transition will be a little bit less than originally Europe and the Europeans hoped.
Okay. George, you said more.
Yeah, because I'm of the opinion that the reality of life and the climate changes will be more and more evident, and it will dictate the system to pay more attention regardless of the result of the elections. I mean, we will all be obliged to do more and more. So in my impression, this will elevate the matter.
And are you saying that because you're saying there will be more of a business case, it's more of a financial imperative, rather than it being driven by voters? Is that sort of what you meant?
I think both.
Okay.
Because nowadays, economically, is more efficient to do the transition right now. But also the climate, let's say, change and the events happening out of that, as combined with the economic volatility of the markets, will push also the citizens to ask for actions. And a combination of these forces will push the political system as well, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I was going to wait a little bit before I did the next poll, but I think given what you've just said, it would be quite interesting to see that now. So if we could move on to the next question, please. Now, what we have here is the priorities. Now, so let me explain what we've done for you. This is from the Eurobarometer study, and it was done not that long ago, slightly earlier this year. And in the Eurobarometer study, they asked about 15 to 20 different priorities. We couldn't give you all of those, so we've picked out the ones that are most applicable for the industry. So what I'd like you to do is say what you think out of those that we've given you, the most important priority is. And then we're going to show you how voters ranked them. Marcus is writing down what he thinks it would be. So
Indeed.
if you could pick the one, Carol, are you going to do yours as well? I feel like I'm going to mark some homework in a moment. They're all... Thank you. I was going to say, that's not in
This
English.
plays, of course, to the previous question.
It
You
does.
are correct, so this is a good bridge there.
It really
Yes.
does.
You want me to start to influence the room?
Go on
Yes.
then. What
Yes.
would you think is the priority?
Yeah.
And then we'll tell you how...
This is exactly what I was after. So things like defense and security, they come on the agenda. So they will take some capacity. Maybe it is so that if we used 100% of our capacity before Ukraine, now we got to go at 120%, which may mean that some things get as much, but some get more. Then there is a point about the poverty and social exclusion. And I think as an industry, thinking about price volatility, high energy bills, these are things we need to take into account, and these are preoccupying people. And then my final point was the support for the economy and creation of new jobs. If we don't have jobs, we will have social problems.
Yep.
And we will have security problems.
The thing is, as you very rightly point out, everything is so connected. But this is the way Eurobarometer sort of split them up. Georgios, what do you think of the priorities voters would have said was most important?
Well, it's difficult to choose. I'm moving between, I find myself between B, economy, and defense.
Okay. What did you think, Carolee?
I vote to B,
Yeah.
because my understanding was that B is talking about the economy growth. So yesterday morning we discussed that this is one of the key in Europe, just to grow. And currently this driver is missing. So for the whole industry, is the most important thing for me is to growing.
Grow the economy. Okay.
And the challenge,
Yeah.
Sasha, if I may,
Please.
clearly the challenge for all of us is that, well, how do we deliver on this agenda as an industry and actually meet the Paris Agreement goals, do the decarbonization, like Georgios was saying. It's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of existence to tackle the climate change problem. I fully agree on that. But how to do it and at the same time deliver the daily needs for the citizens of Europe.
Citizens and industry, so closely linked. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to show you how you voted, and then I'll show you how voters across Europe ranked these. So if we can see how the room voted now. Okay, I think that clearly shows the type of people we have in this room. Okay, really interesting. So a third of you went for the EU's autonomy in the fields of industry and energy. Actually, digitalization, very small in this room. Action against climate change. Yeah, it's one of the lower ones. Okay,
Sasha,
go on.
I think there's one warning sign here. So I heard some colleagues saying about who are contracting AI capacity, and it is US and China leading the way there. And I think this is kind of a red flag for us that, hey, if we don't pay attention, then we may survive this year, next year, 5 years from now, but our global competition is running really fast on that front.
That's an excellent point to make, thank you. Yeah, very good point to make. Okay, would you like to see how voters across Europe voted on this? Okay, so keep that one in mind. And if we can now move... Yeah, there we go, there. So, okay, it's difficult to see, right? So, at the top is the fight against poverty and social exclusion. So that was number one. We've got things like public health, support to the economy and the creation of new jobs. That was 3. EU's defence and security. Georgios, was it you that said defence? Yeah. Action against climate change comes down then. Future of Europe. Migration was in there. The other ones that we picked out, The digitalisation of the European economy and society, that is only 9%. That's one of the ones right near the bottom. Also, 1% said don't know. Markus, what are your thoughts when you look at that?
I think the message is clear. We need a strong society, strong, successful, inclusive society. Because if this is what's preoccupying people's minds, then we're not going to have progress. We're not going to be able to fight the climate change and create welfare and prosperity. Inclusion, that everybody feels included, that is very, very important.
Okay, so how does this industry do that?
Yeah, well, this is where our thinking, like my thinking and our company's thinking, and I think Eurelectric's thinking is coming from that we look at what the customers need, whether it is private consumers, whether it is the industries, and then this comes to the question of security of supply, and security of supply in the sense of that consumers, if we think about renewables. So great thing, we get a lot of low-cost megawatt hours into the system, but it's volatile, it's intermittent. So consumers, if I take Finland as an example, in the recent months they have been facing prices between minus 500 euro per megawatt hour to plus 2,000 euro per megawatt hour. Well, that's the type of security of supply that consumers don't want. And if I take the industries on the other hand, if I look at the customers we are talking with, it's steel, chemicals, data centers, battery factories. They actually all need more or less uninterrupted 24/7 energy. And that's why, in addition to the renewables, we will need firm and flexible capacity.
Yeah.
So this is one big takeaway on this front. What can the industry do? We need to bring also the firm and flexible capacity to the market, and that's an agenda also for the next EU Parliament, the next EU Commission. There's another level also, what can we do? That is to physically protect our assets and our infrastructure. We heard yesterday from Ukraine, from DTEC, touching, heartbreaking story of 90% of capacity being destructed. So there's just the physical reality that if the assets don't work physically, then we are in trouble. And then there are the less obvious but as dangerous cybersecurity, interruption, enemy being there in the systems. Yeah. So I see two levels of this, and these are both are things that are in the heart of what we are doing daily in our business.
I wonder, though, whether those two levels that you've talked about, a lot of them, how can I explain this, is hidden investment from the public. They are not necessarily going to know what you are investing in security or cybersecurity until it goes wrong, of course, and then it's your fault. But it's balancing if you are looking after the finances, so you are looking after the people and the fight against poverty, but you still have to spend the money, but the people don't necessarily know you're spending it.
Yeah, there are definitely choices that one has to make, and that's why also Eurelectric, Fortum, myself, we have been calling to continue the societal discussion that what do we want? Are we okay to have a very volatile, very intermittent system where consumers have to flex and people have to build batteries and they have to take their consumption down? If that's okay, then great. Then we can live with the volatile system. But if we want more stability, if we want the jobs in the businesses that are running 24/7, we need a different type of a system. And that's what we need to explain, but also politicians need to decide, the politics needs to decide that this is the type of market design system that can support this. And that's where actually everybody has to put their skin in the game and say, this is the logic how this works, this is why we're making these choices, and to explain to the stakeholders.
Talk to me about Hungary then. How would you sort of counter that? What would you say?
So regarding this pool, I would like to add something that maybe in the last couple of years we on the European level fighting for somebody, fighting against somebody, fighting against Russia. This pool said that we need to focus to fight for somebody. For the voters. So we lost the focus. That's some kind of outcome for us, that the European politicians have to focus more on their citizens because the mandates come from them. So that's one of the outcomes. In Hungary, we have several difficulties after the war. We are just next to Ukraine, so all the implication running through on the country. We are so good position because the grid is relatively well-funded and reliable, but still there are implications. And of course, the one of our goal as MVM is to being more diversified in the future. So we need to be more reliable sources. We are still have around 40-45% Russian dependency, but we are a landlocked country. And one more thing which is also related to this, this pool, that during the years, Europe started to lose the solidarity as the basics. I think in the 1950s, this was one of the first principles between the founding countries. And during the war, everybody's what they want to do, and sometimes we do not care what the other European countries could suffer due to our decisions. For example, the transit fee. We are a landlocked country. We do not have LNG ports. We could book capacities on LNG, but the neighboring countries started to increase dramatically the transit fee. So it means that there is no alternatives of the Russian source. Sorry for that. So that's what I try to say, that that's really, really interesting pool, and showing that we need to go back a little bit.
And that is going to play into voters in your country front and center, isn't it? The way that they view themselves within your country, as opposed to being one country within the rest of Europe. Yeah, so it's a different situation. I'm very interested what you said that, and forgive me if I'm slightly paraphrasing, but industry has lost a bit of focus as to where their priorities were, their direction. I'm not going to say priorities, I apologize, but what was on their agenda. Georgios, would you agree with that? Do you think industry needs to refocus on its citizens, its day-to-day citizens, rather than as Carolee was suggesting, a war against someone? And by that, I am not suggesting we do not think about that at all. But.
Well, looking also from the result here, as an industry, we haven't managed well the social acceptance of the Green Deal, for instance. And then you go back to the first question of what we expect in the next years. I expect the transition to evolve further, because every new wind and solar kilowatt hour is cheaper than anything else. So also for economic reasons, but we haven't managed to explain this to the people. We presented a grid study yesterday, which shows that the bill for grids will increase, but it will reduce the total bill, including the fossil. So we will save a lot from fossil. So, but every European citizen is receiving an electricity bill every month, and there will be components there increasing it, also through electrification. And we need to find the ways to explain that by doing this, you save somewhere else, or what is the cost of not acting. So as an industry, we didn't manage this well. On the other hand, I have to say that we have delivered well as an industry in the decarbonization till now, and we are waiting other industries to participate as well. So including additional industries and pushing for electrification is very important as well, let me say.
Can I just ask you, who agrees with Georgios there, that the industry didn't do very well in communicating the transition? Can I keep it that broad? Okay.
From the social point.
It's on the social point of view. Okay. Right. Yeah.
It's a
yeah.
really complicated thing. I mean, okay, with all of us here, I think we have a fair idea of how it works, and then we have to take into account just the national diversity.
Yeah.
In EU, 27 countries plus everybody else in Europe, so it is a very complicated thing. Talking about listening to customers, explaining to customers, the customers actually expressed their opinion quite clearly now with the Antwerp Declaration, which was mentioned here earlier. So now 1,100 signatories basically saying that the Green Deal is good. We like the Green Deal, but we need to do certain practical things not to de-industrialize Europe, but re-industrialize Europe. So the electrification, decarbonization, shift from fossil gas to electricity and to synthetic gas, it's a massive opportunity, of course. So great for us, wonderful. But we really need to bring the customer voice in and probably go hand in hand to Europe, to EU, to explain very pedagogically that, okay, what are the things that the industries need? It's not rocket science, but we need to have policies, we need to have financing, we need to have the structures in place that support and not hinder the type of change that the industries and consumers are needing.
Well, let's stay with the consumers for a moment, because Karoli, you were nodding there, and I wonder, particularly given your geography and the political situation that you find yourself in where you are based, how do you then, or is it too late, but how do you explain and bring your consumers on board with you, the public? How do you do that now?
Really hard question, and really hard to explain the customers what is happening on the energy market, because, for example, my father is 85 years old. He never ever checked the energy bills before. I never ever have the same experience that my father is sitting and looking at the energy bills. Nowadays, he's all the time turning out and down the radiator and checking the gas metering system. So that's totally abnormal, I think, and that's why we need to explain all the things for the customers. What does it mean, the green transition? And I fully agree that the cheap energy is not available in the future.
No,
so that's have to explain to everybody that this is unvalid expectation that the cheap energy will come back. And fully agree with the industrializational point of view in Europe. The Hungarian government started. So lots of car maker manufacturers are established factory in Hungary. Few months ago, BYD announced to increase and bring a factory to Hungary. So we try to manage this industrialization, because that's the way, I think, and that's the history of the Europe as well in the last century, and that's our way in the future. And the citizens could understood that Hungary is dependent from the Russian energy.
Yes.
And the transition is not one day to the another. It takes time. And if we can communicate, they are able to understand.
And it's giving quick wins, front-loading those wins. Marcus?
I can associate to the point. It's not only father, but it's also father-in-law. all the friends and all the relatives also. So, yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and everyone in this room will feel this. We obviously, when we were putting together this panel, we were thinking of who it would be great to hear from, and we were thinking on the political dimension. We were thinking, okay, what about? Let's think about Belgium. Okay, let's think about Belgium's energy minister, Tina van der Straten. What would she say? What would be the thoughts there when it came to policies and the politics going forward when it comes to this industry? So what we're going to do is play you a little bit of the message that she wanted to send to everyone here in this room. Let's take a listen.
Dear Prime Minister Mitsotakis, Your Excellencies, President Birnbaum, dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to address this Power Summit. May is a significant month for the European Union. 2 weeks ago, on May the 9th, we celebrated Europe Day. It's a day to commemorate the anniversary of the Schuman Declaration. It's a day for us Europeans to celebrate peace and unity across the continent. When Robert Schuman and other visionary leaders created a European coal and steel community in 1950, in the aftermath of war, he said, "The pooling of coal and steel production will change the destinies of those regions which have long been devoted to the manufacture of munitions of war, of which they have been the most constant victims." To ensure a lasting peace in Europe, Schuman has put energy at its center. Energy as a catalyst for cooperation, energy as a catalyst for change, and with success. Europe underwent significant changes. The European coal and steel community laid the foundations for the European Union, established by the Treaty of Maastricht in May 1992. And in May 2004, the EU expanded with 10 new member states, extending its peace project. The world around us is changing rapidly. The devastating impacts of the climate crisis are becoming ever more evident across Europe and the entire planet. And at our eastern border, Putin's invasion of Ukraine reminds us of the fragility of peace. And while Europe has put energy at the center of cooperation and prosperity, Russia chose to weaponize it. It sparked the most severe threat to European energy security ever. There were fears of Europe freezing in winter, fears of lights going off across the continent. Yet, it didn't happen. The lights stayed on. And how did Europe manage? All over the continent, citizens, companies and governments worked together to wean off Russian fossil fuels with emergency measures, by reducing consumption, by accelerating the energy transition. We worked together with a common goal and we kept the lights on. And so we are driving Putin out of our energy markets once and for all. But we must never find ourselves in the same position again. That's why Europe puts all its focus on renewable energy. They provide us with affordable, clean and homegrown energy. And they cannot be weaponized. They replace expensive, dirty, imported oil and gas.
Really good to hear from her, Tina von der Straten. And I'm going to pick up on one phrase that she used, energy as a catalyst for change. Because you've all sat here and very, very rightly, you've been very honest and very transparent with the areas that you think are challenges and what needs to be done. So what I want to do is move on to the possibilities, because elections voting will always be change, and change brings opportunities, different opportunities, and it is what we make out of those. So energy is a catalyst for change. We've had a day and a half of talking about the possibilities, the challenges, but the possibilities. So a catalyst for change. Georgios, what can we take from this? And as we go into elections and possible change there, what can be the direction of travel?
The first that comes in my mind is the unity that we have, how we delivered our survival following Ukraine is remarkable. And I see this more and more. And the 2 days we have passed here, I see all of us participating in this dialogue of this energy transition and in reality agreeing what we need to do. And this is a very first important step that I want to underline. We've talked about the social inclusion and the social approval of the transition, which is very important as well. And then there are actions, let's say, the grids, the flexibility, the digitalization. I don't want to refer to that. I will just close by saying that we need a strong electrification at the end. As a regulation, as a European act, that we should all push for, let me say.
So, and once it's there, the possibilities are are huge. I mean, we've heard that in our plenary earlier this morning. So a catalyst for change, Marcus.
What I took away from these magnificent days was that there seems to be no disagreement on where we want to go and the potential. It is just overwhelmingly clear. But then how to get there? So it was interesting to listen to the Belgian minister. I was really listening. There was no mention of firm and flexible capacity. So, okay, so renewables, yes, but they will come in any case. But this comes to listening to the customers. So let's really listen to the customers, go hand in hand, and make sure that we deliver on what the customers are needing. And then how to do it? Well, let's harness the EU institutions. We have some of the world's most powerful, capable institutions, and then we're tying one hand behind our back and starting to do exclusions and not supporting fully the EU's own agenda. So let's just use the tools we have. We're definitely going to get there. Listening to the customers, harnessing EU institutions, we will reach our goal.
I think it's very, very good sentiment, well wrapped up, that you listen to those customers. Everything is in place. Logistically, things are in place. Make the most of it. Karoli.
Listening to the customers and listening to each other. And that's why this conference was very, very interesting and useful for me, because we were open-minded. I participate a lot of discussions, bilateral, and also this room, I saw several presentations. So if we are so open-minded, we would find a way how we could decarbonize the world.
I think a quick show of hands. Who agrees that actually what we've heard here and over the last couple of days, really open-minded? Would you agree? Yeah. Oh, that's always a relief. And a good, frank, very transparent exchange of views and thoughts, but actually, you know, a really strong movement forward, a good trajectory. Gentlemen, can I thank you so much for taking part in our executive dialogue? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Really, really interesting discussions. Thank you. Thank you very much.